Hey guys, I want to share with you guys Adobe Photoshop. So all the Adobe programs look similar. They all have tabs up here. They all have tools. They all have windows for different reasons. When you click on a tool, the options up here for those tools change. Again, all the Adobe programs look similar. Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, they all kind of function under the same basic premise. Also, you'll notice if you hover over a tool for a moment, it'll tell you the name of that tool. And you'll see that there's these little arrows or triangles right below a lot of tools. That means if you click and hold on a tool, you'll see that there are more tools behind the original tool. So these are all just a series of tools that we have to work in Photoshop. So the way Photoshop works is it's all pixel-based stuff. So I'm going to take the magnifying glass, and if I click, I see I get a plus sign. So I'm going to be zooming in. If I hold the Alt key on the keyboard, I'll do the opposite and zoom back out again. But I'm going to zoom in for a moment and just share with you guys. Photoshop is a pixel or raster-based program, meaning that it's made up of little squares of a single color, and each one has its own individual color. But when you zoom back out, holding the Alt key, it looks like what we see as full color imagery. So this is different than the other types of programs, but this particular program is a pixel-based program. Also, another tool just to share with you guys, when you're zoomed in, if you grab the hand tool, you can click and drag around in the box. So this is how you move around a document. So again, zooming out, grabbing the hand tool, I can move around to different areas of the piece. So that would be how you kind of get around. Layers are a really important thing in this program. When you work with layers, it works like a stack of papers in a book. Whatever is on the top is going to be in front. So for instance, let me just move over to a few other images that I have here. So I pulled up this picture of this baseball player, and I also pulled up a picture of a park. And the way that something like this would work, I'm going to just do this very quickly. We'll go over all of this stuff in the future on how to do these types of things, but there's a lot of ways to make selections. You have different types of marquee tools, rectangular, elliptical, and so on. You've got lasso tools, magnetic lasso tools. Again, I'll explain what all this means. You've got quick selections, magic wands, and the way that it pretty much works is there's a lot of different ways to make selections. I want to share with you guys some basic ways to make selections before I show you more advanced ways to make selections so that you know what you're doing with this. So I just generally start with people with a magnetic lasso tool, and what it does is it does kind of a pretty rough job, but it tries to find contrast in pixels. And our job really is, say I want to cut this guy out and paste him into the other picture over at the park. So I go around and I can see that it's not doing really an amazing job here. But the goal again is to just get back to where I started. And then I want to refine this selection. Again, I'll go over this stuff in the future. But I would change in this case to the lasso tool. Now if I hold the shift key, I see I get a plus sign, so I can add to a selection. So for instance, if I hold the shift key, the regular lasso tool, I'm just tracing it freehand. If I hold the Alt key and I trace, I can take away from that selection. So my goal is to refine the selection, go around, come back to where I started again, and have a really nice selection when I'm done. So again, the way this works, and I'll go over this further in the future, is this. When using lasso tools, you want to trace the area really cleanly, and then you want to make sure you totally encompass the rest of a selection. So for instance, when I hold the Alt key, I'm going to trace this freehand really, really nicely. And I come way back around to where I started to make sure I completely get that element out. Here I would add to the selection, and I'm going to just do a pretty rough job here just for the sake of you understanding the big picture. We'll do all this stuff together in the future, and we'll do a really nice job at that point or at that time. So we'll just say that this is good enough, and I'm just generally making selections here. There's different reasons we would use different tools, and Generally, I wouldn't do this exactly how I'm sharing it with you now. It's, again, this point of this is just to show you some basic tools in Photoshop and kind of get an idea what can happen. So now that I have made this selection of him, I can go up to edit and I can copy it and bring it back over to this picture and paste it. And he's probably going to appear very large because of the difference in size of each image is very, very different. So I can, at the end of the day, just rescale it and make it fit into another picture. And let me do that again. Sorry. I'm going to hold the shift key to keep it proportionate because we want to keep things proportionate. And that's because people look the way we see them. They don't look like this and they don't look like this. We want to keep them proportionate. So maybe I bring them down and I'll zoom in here for you so you can see a little bit better. So at the end of the day, this doesn't look totally realistic because we're missing a shadow and we can digitally make a shadow. Here, just let me do that really quickly. So I'm going to duplicate this layer. Again, just watch. I might use use a magic wand, and I might select the inverse. And I've got him, and then I'm going to fill this with black, and then deselect, and then I'm going to go to filter blur, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a soft edge because shadows are a little bit softer. And then I'm going to skew this thing. Again, just watch. Don't worry about all this. Rotate it up. And this is just a pretty quick something. The opacity on this particular layer, notice how we're starting to get a stack of different images. So if I can turn off different elements, clicking the eye, you can see what we're doing here. Also, the shadow should be behind, so I'm going to drag it below him. And the opacity is a little bit too dark, so I'm going to try to make it match kind of over what we see in the back. And then I might just give this another Gaussian blur just to try to make it match just a little bit more. And then maybe darken it up a little bit too. So yeah, you get the idea. But anyway, this is just kind of a general overview of Photoshop. There's so much you can do. If you think you should be able to do it, you can do it in this program. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. We'll work on a lot of specifics, but that's just really the tip of the iceberg.